Syndicated Washington columnist Jack Anderson is in Miami tonight to speak at the annual meeting of DAID's United Family and Children's Services. And we're glad to welcome Jack back to this program. The election, Jack, first of all, in New Hampshire, who seems to have the momentum going there?
I don't think there's any momentum. I wouldn't look for any positive results there in New Hampshire.
Florida, March 9th, Reagan against Ford and Wallace against Carter. What's significance?
More significance there, particularly if George Wallace should be defeated. If George Wallace is defeated, I think that would be a blow to his candidacy. If he wins, well, he's expected to win, and it'll make no difference. If Carter should win, it'll certainly help Carter a great deal. In the Ford-Reagan race, I don't think it's going to make a good deal of difference. Reagan, you see, isn't running against Gerald Ford. He's running against the Republican Party. I don't think he's going to be able to defeat the Republican Party. Gerald Ford, as the incumbent president, has the reins of the party in his hand. Whether Reagan wins or loses in Florida won't make that much difference.
There's been speculation that if Ford loses in Florida, he may decide not to make the race.
I wouldn't expect that. He's got a streak of Harry Truman in him. He's going to stay in there till the end. The only person who could persuade him not to would be his wife, Betty. And the only event that could persuade him not to would be a failing of her health.
Do you think that Ford will win?
Well, I think Ford's going to get the Republican nomination. I think it's quite possible that Reagan will win the Republican primary here.
I mean, the general election. Will Ford beat the Democratic nominee?
I wouldn't think so. I think the American people are going to vote their pocketbooks, and I think that they're nervous right now about the economic outlook.
There's a very scattered and almost undeclared field in some respects among the Democrats. Who do you think the nominee will be?
I think it's too early to guess who that nominee would, who the Democrats are going to nominate. I would, if I were to advise them, I would say that the American people are tired of old faces and the old politics, that they ought to find some fresh, some new face who still has the experience and the qualifications to be president. Someone like maybe Senator Frank Church.
There was one report that the Democrats might move their convention from New York to Miami Beach for several reasons. Any possibility of that?
Yeah, I think there is a possibility. I've talked to a lot of Democratic leaders who would like to move it out of New York City, and they talk about Miami. I think that there's a real possibility that that could happen. Certainly the decision has not been made, but the possibility exists.
Another quick question, Jack. The matter of Henry Kissinger. Is it possible he'd resign before the election?
Not unless there's some unforeseen event that would cause it. I talked to Henry just the other day. I think it was the day after he returned from Russia. And I threw the question right at him, and I don't think he'd lie to me about it. He said no, under no circumstances would he leave the job. And he doesn't expect that the president would fire him before November.
Daniel Moynihan, is it possible he'll leave his job at the UN?
Well, yes, I think Dan is running for the Senate in New York City, in New York State.
In this year's election?
I think he'd like the nomination, and I think that many of the things he says at the United Nations are really campaign speeches for the Senate.
Jack Anderson, thanks very much for dropping by and visiting with us on the program. You haven't been to Florida too much recently. Come back soon.
Good to be here.
Okay. To you, good night. May the good news be yours.